Guys, welcome back to my channel, The Black Accountant. It's your boy Mo. And if you haven't already done so, you know the drill. Go ahead and like, comment, subscribe, and let me know in the comments of any kind of content you want to see going forward. And most importantly, don't forget to turn on notification bells so you get notified when I drop new videos. So today I wanted to kind of like talk a little bit about resumes. And I know it's a bit of a pivot because I haven't done as much of this content on my channel as I normally would, but this is actually my main niche. I started off before YouTube and before doing podcasts, doing resumes. And I actually do career coaching and interview prep and resume writing on the side. It's all branded under Resume Consulting, which is the same handle as my TikTok channel, if you'd like to check that out. Also, you can go to resumeconsulting.com to see a little bit more of that. But overall, my thought process for 2022 is also to kind of include a little bit more variable types of content. So I want to do some think pieces here, some tax and financial advice, or not advice, sorry, but tips pretty much from things that I know here and there as well. And some resume things, some career type things, and like that crypto journey that I was talking about as well. So you're going to see a variety of that. So I might be doing this resume content maybe once a week, if not more or less. And I'll also be doing the that Explore Chicago series and maybe incorporating a little bit more hobby type stuff. So I'm going to start off with a very basic premise behind resumes. So I had this one presentation that I made a while back, so I'm just going to be walking through that. So let me share my screen. All right. And pretty much this was a presentation I had created for a resume workshop series that I was doing, going to my old campus at CSUN and also just virtually for some other campuses, to just go to student clubs who are interested in kind of networking or starting to create their professional portfolios or professional resumes, and talking about some little resume tips and tricks that you could do to make your resume stand out. So I'm probably going to skip this part because, you know, already about me if you're watching my channel. But what is a resume? A resume is pretty much a professional summary of the things that you've accomplished, the things that you're doing, and where you want to go. And it's basically you on a page. And when I say on a page, most resumes, especially if you have less than 5 years of experience, should only be one page. So you generally want to outline the experiences that you've had, especially if it's relevant to the job, because there's no such thing as a one-size-fits-all resume. You tailor any individual resume and the description of the different jobs and experiences that you've had to match what's being requested in that position that you're applying for. And a lot of people might find this overwhelming or think like, hey, I've gotten success by just having just one resume and I use that for everything. But as you kind of get a little bit further up there, what you might want to do or start doing is writing down the job that you're currently working at and all these other jobs that you've had experiences at, and write as many bullets as possible about the things that you would do at that job, and create that as like a master list, so that when you're crafting a new resume, it's not like you have to start from scratch. You're just grabbing little things from here and then posting it into that specific resume and uploading it that way. And that should increase your chances of landing better jobs. And of course, a resume by itself isn't guaranteed to land you a job. It's cool if you have really great experiences, but nowadays it's about the strategy that you have career-wise, as well as the creative or ingenious ways that you go about trying to get that network or trying to get that connect. Because most systems or most companies now, when they ask you to apply online, they don't know your face. And it's very easy for you to get filtered through an algorithm and then just be put into a no pile. Same thing if you hand your resume just directly to a recruiter, they generally have about 6 seconds when looking at these resumes for you to make an impression. So you might want to increase your chances by doing a lot of these things together. So what's on a resume? Generally speaking, you're going to want to put your education, your skills, your experience, and any additional sections that you feel might make you a little bit more competitive. So when we talk about education, generally speaking, there's a section there from a college standpoint where you would put the college that you've attended, are attending, or what college you've completed, so that somebody can see, okay, I see you have a degree here. I see that you're working on this specific degree and there's an expected graduation date, or this is your GPA. Those are kind of very important when you're starting off looking for work, especially post-college or during college, because there's not too much work experience to go off of. So what they use to assess this is, or assess your employability or credibility, is your GPA. Unfortunately, I don't think GPA is necessarily a reflection of your intelligence. It's more so a reflection of your time management and your focus, if you will, or dedication. So that's a thing that you would put under your education section. And then if you're very, very entry level, you would put something along the lines of your courses that you're taking that are relevant to the job, since that might be a little bit more of a substitute for experience. Skills could be anything from hard skills or soft skills. I think in today's job market, especially during COVID and probably post-COVID, what's more important than having hard skills on your resume is being able to speak to people. So the soft skills aren't a substitute for hard skills, but are a really good starting point, because if you have communication on point, if you're able to speak to people, if you're able to look people in the eye, you're able to network very well, you should be set. And a lot of companies value that in an entry-level position, because they could just teach you the hard skills. Overall, whenever you come into a job at an entry level, they're already going to be teaching you things that you don't already know. So it would be nice to have skills, maybe like if you're going to business or a business type job, to have Excel experience, to have PowerPoint experience, or some familiarity with these things, and you'll learn more of those skills as you go along. So those are things you would want to put on your resume. Experience speaks for itself, and that could be professional experience, as in you working. It can be internship experience. It could also be professional involvement. So being involved in clubs on your campus, being involved in specific projects or side projects that you're doing, and that showcase your skills or showcase your experience having worked with anything in particular. And then these additional sections could be like language. You know, if you're bilingual, you're trilingual, or something along those lines, highlighting those on your resume is always great as well. And it expands your options, because certain jobs are always looking for somebody that can translate or somebody that can speak to a different demographic. So anything that would kind of highlight or help your resume stand out. And I think one key factor that I really like including, and I think you should include while you're still a student, is interests, as in what kind of things are you interested in? It makes for really good talking points, especially if a recruiter is going to kind of like glance at that section and they see something that stands out, then it makes it easier to remember you, you know, because these people look at so many resumes on a daily basis that it's very easy to get lost in the sauce. But if you have something super unique on your resume, then you kind of already come to memory a little bit more, like, oh, this person's interested in surfing, or this person is interested in travel to like this very specific country. Like putting something that's not very vague or not a common interest that everybody has would probably help you stand out. So let's talk a little bit about the appearance of your resume. So font is very important. I generally would go with Times New Roman or Calibri font, just because those are a little bit more generic and clean. You don't want to use any kind of goofy font. It'll make you stand out for all the wrong reasons, because this is a professional document at the end of the day. And you want to bold your headings, because if I have 6 seconds to look at your resume, I want you to have made it very easy for me to glance at specific sections that I'm interested in. So let's say I'm hiring for an associate role, and I want to see what professional involvement you have. I want to see your GPA. You making that the easiest thing for me to look at increases your chances automatically, because my eye will automatically go to that section, and then I'll be able to read that and go through that. And don't go too crazy with font sizes. Please, 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 if you don't have enough content, or you feel like you don't have enough content to fill out the page, you also don't need to fill out the page. And don't make your font huge, because it just looks goofy. The standard, you want to go with the standard when it comes to font size, 11 or 12. And that doesn't apply to the same way to headings or to your name. You want to make your name a bigger font, because that's something that needs to stand out. Spacing. If you play around with spacing a lot when it comes to the content on your resume. So if I know that I've had a lot of work experience and a lot of involvement in things, and I don't think everything is going to fit on one page, I would choose probably the most important things or most relevant aspects and try to include those on my resume. So single space works very well because it provides for more space on the resume, more space on the page to let you put in as much information as possible, but you don't want to keep it cluttered. You want to make it clean and as spacious as possible, and add space between your headings so that you know that this section is ending and then this other section starts. Like I was saying, visually speaking, you want to increase your chances with a recruiter because they're glancing around. They don't have the time to go through your entire resume like that. That process happens once you've pretty much secured an interview. And then punctuation and grammar. So the consistency is very key. And this is something I see on a lot of people's resumes. You need to double and triple check your spelling. I know sometimes Google or Microsoft Word will highlight things in red for you and say like, hey, this word is spelled wrong. You need to also check the grammar because even if it's spelled correctly, sometimes you use the wrong your. You may use extra verbiage or extra conjunctions and nouns or whatever that don't need to particularly be there. So watch out for your wording and make sure that you're consistent with the way that you're punctuating. So if I put a period at the end of a bullet point, all the rest of my points need to end with a period. If I'm not including one, which I would generally say you don't really need to include a period, make sure all the rest of your points follow that same format. And then there's just this little example here if you want to read that, dealing with customers and helping with hiring sometimes. Like that's very vague and it's not really a good bullet point. You might want to say something a little bit better, like deliver excellent customer service to increase customer retention. You use customer twice there, so it may not be the best example, but it's better than the initial one. And this is obviously just to highlight the fact that you want to change up the grammar a bit. Additional sections. So these are very common additional sections that people do. Professional development, which sounds like you're doing a lot, but it's really just your involvement, like your campus involvement. Are you in ASB? Are you in associated student body? Are you the president of a club? Are you involved in a club? Are you going to certain activities and events? Make sure you include those things. You also talk about your volunteering experience if you have any. And because it shows that you're responsible, it also points to, it should also match something related to the job description that you're applying for. And also when you put languages and certifications, especially certifications are great because it showcases that you take knowledge seriously and that you do things on your own. You're not just getting schooled in school, you're schooling yourself at your own pace and getting these certifications to prove that. And basically you're proving competency. And then when you're doing bullet points, the bullet points need to be relevant, relevant to the job. So let's say I'm going to be talking about a cashier position that I did or I'm in, and I'm going for like a finance position. I would talk about the more money type aspects and the soft skill aspects, like the transferable skills from that job to that other job. And you want to be as concise as possible. I generally try to keep bullets to one sentence, so like one line. And if that's not enough space for you, then you might want to rethink that specific sentence and see how you can word it in a very concise way. And like I was saying, keep it to one line. And then you want to use bullet points for all your experiences. So if I'm putting in like 3 different jobs, each job is going to have a set amount of bullet points. And then if I'm going for something a little bit more clean and crisp, I think I generally go for a minimum of 3 bullet points per job, unless you're putting a lot of jobs on there, which I wouldn't really encourage. I'd say maybe put in 3 to 5 jobs that you've had at an entry level, and then maybe use 3 to 5 bullet points for each of those, and make sure the bullet points are aligned for each of these sections, because the cleaner your paper looks, the more professional and put together you look. And it shows very good attention to detail. And then finishing it up. So highlight your contact information and name. I don't mean like actually use a highlighter or on Word or something and change the color. What that means is make sure it's the most thing that stands out so that there's a way to contact you. Generally speaking, I see a lot of people put in their address. That's not really something that's needed anymore, because you're going to put that on your job application. And also when you fill out paperwork later on, there's no reason to actually have that on your resume because you're not mailing in your resume, you're sending it via email. So you want to make sure that you include your email and a valid phone number for somebody to contact you back with. And also putting in the city and the state that you're in makes it easier also for that recruiter to know, like, hey, are you a good fit for this position? Because when they look at that information, they want to see how close you are to the office or to a physical location, if that's where the job is going to take place, so that they know if you're going to need to commute or not. And that might affect your chances at an interview. So include links to your social media and your projects. This is probably very important, I think, in a more modern resume, especially now that we're handing a lot of things online, is putting in a QR code. You know, if you put in a QR code to your LinkedIn, you're making it very easy for whoever is hiring you or conducting these interviews to find more information about you. You're simplifying a lot of the process and you're increasing your chances of being higher priority on that list of people to interview. And simple is always better. And like the 6-second rule is what I was talking about from the beginning, and I keep referencing, is that a recruiter generally only has about 6 seconds looking at a resume because they have thick stacks of resumes to look at. So let's talk a little bit about the content. For your education section, you're generally putting the degree that you're pursuing, an anticipated completion date if you're not done yet, your GPA, and I think for certain types of jobs, especially if you're going to accounting, finance, consulting, whatnot, it's important to put in your major GPA and your overall GPA as well. So your major GPA is your GPA from the relevant classes to that major. So I came from an accounting background. We had an accounting GPA, and that was just getting that average between all of the accounting classes that you've taken. And then there's the overall GPA for your entire collegiate courses. So for some people who transfer from community college to regular college, or sorry, to university, you want to do like an average of all of those together. So that would be your overall GPA. And then if you have anything special, like you made Dean's List or you had some kind of other achievement regarding your GPA, always, or regarding your education, always include that. Always include that because it makes you stand out. And then experience, professional experience, work experience, and relevant experience. So if I'm doing my own side projects, that would be relevant experience because it's relevant to that job. So if, let's say, I'm going for a data analytics type position and I'm doing side projects where I'm evaluating my own data through Tableau and getting that certification, like I would put that on my resume as relevant experience and then word it in a way that shows those transferable skills. Same way with jobs, which is the most common, work experience, that you've done a job that correlates to this specific position, and so on and so on. And then technical skills. So this is very, well, it's not that it's subjective, it just depends highly on the industry that you're going into and the job that you're going for. So in a lot of business capacity type jobs, and in a lot of consulting positions and a lot of accounting positions and technology positions, you want to have some level of familiarity with computer skills. And I think it can never really hurt you in any position that you go for to have a baseline knowledge in Microsoft Office. You know, having touched Excel, Word, or PowerPoint is already good. So make sure that you know that pretty well. And then everything else are things that you could put on there. So technical skills like a portfolio that you have, if you do like graphic work, and creating maybe a link to that, or talking a little bit more about that. SaaS, software as a service, so different types of online experiences, like if you have experience with Salesforce, or if you have experience with like Acuity, which is a scheduling software, things like that. Like you want to put that on there to showcase that you know how to use it, or you have a background in it and it's easier for you to pick up. And then soft skills. Like soft skills aren't really a section that you put on your resume. It's more so how you word your bullet points to showcase the soft skills. So if I was trying to showcase my leadership, I would talk about my work experience in ways that showcase that. So whenever you're writing a resume, use action verbs like created, implemented, or whatever, solutions. Like to showcase leadership, you talk about how you manage the team, how you step forward, how you took charge. That would be you showcasing that soft skill of leadership. Public speaking, setting up events, you know, speaking at events, and then just wording it in that specific way, and having high emotional, wow, I can't believe I forgot what the Q stands for. I guess emotional intelligence helps you a lot in terms of showcasing these soft skills so that you know this is generally what I know an accountant's day looks like. So let me try to showcase that in my resume to increase my chances. And like I just mentioned, action verbs. Action verbs are the tense that you use. So it's a good starter of the of particular actions that you took at these jobs. So like I had just mentioned, some of the really good ones, let's say I was going for a consulting position. You know, you want to talk about how you save time, how you manage teams, how you create and scale things. So if I was scaling something or creating something, I'd say created this program or created this spreadsheet or did this. Like that showcases that something that's very prevalent in consulting of and demonstrating those skills. Developed, optimized, and also make sure you're always using the correct tense. And this is something that we forget when we're updating our resumes a lot of times because you don't change the verbiage. Is if you finish the job and you're at a new job now and you're coming to update your resume, don't forget to change the tense, because you can't have a job where it says, I worked here from August 2020 to January 2022, and then it still says assist, create, develop, because you don't do those things anymore at that job because you're no longer at that job. So make sure that you're correcting the tenses to be in past tense, and whatever you're currently doing is still in present tense. Obviously, you're not going to have future tense things on your resume because a resume doesn't showcase what you're going to do in the future. It showcases things you've already done or are doing. And then some resources. So Word has actually now, with newer Word 2019 and later, they do have a lot of free templates that you can use for resumes. And generally speaking, don't go with anything too crazy. Simplicity is always better. Standing out for the right reasons is so much better than standing out for the wrong reasons. So make sure that you're using something that's not too colorful and not too flashy, because like I was saying, that makes you stand out for the wrong reasons. There's resume creation websites where you can go in and then just input your resume, and then it'll give you some suggestions as to how to correct some verbiage. There's the BEAC Center. There's some career centers. If at your whatever college that you're going to or university, there's almost always a career center that you could go to that would help you with these things. Local resume writers. I may not be local because I'm fully virtual, but you can always check out resumeconsulting.com and go from there. So like I was saying, if you want to get a little bit more contact information from me, I always link these in my YouTube videos anyway, but just there's no harm in posting over here as well. So, on YouTube, it's The Black Accountant. You can go to resumeconsulting.com or go through my Instagram for a personal Instagram, Sudani Boy Mo, or a professional Instagram, which is Resume Consulting. Also, TikTok has that same name. And I have just a variety of content of all those things on there. And there's also this LinkedIn page that you could visit. Excuse me for gasping. And yeah, that's all I really had for today's session. I think I'm going to probably, if I do these on a weekly basis, highlight or zoom in on more examples, and then maybe certain aspects of resumes to just kind of shape that. And then if people have questions, we can do that as well. And I'll probably be doing these a little bit more live so that if people have questions, you can ask me while I'm already doing. So that's all I had for today's video. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. Is there any specific content you want to see in the next video? And I'll see you guys then.